All right, hope you're all doing well. This is our dividend stocks to watch video. This is part 2 for 2025. Now we did a dividend stocks to watch for the start of the year, and I thought I'd give an update because usually what I do is look at the first quarter, see what companies are doing, and then maybe I decide to adjust what I would have selected. And so that's what we're gonna go through. Before I get into it though, I do want to ask you to tell me, especially those who are watching, what's your favorite dividend stock? So that's what I'm going to put up on the screen now. I want you guys to tell me. And so maybe, who knows, I'll check out one that you share with me. But for dividends, it's very straightforward to me. No, I have to say this disclaimer before every video. And that's because, of course, when I talk about dividend stocks, I'll hear, well, Jermaine, what about, CAR? What about SBL, right? So, of course, for my faith, for moral reasons, and otherwise, those companies are not a part of the options for me. And so everything else that I'm talking about, if you're watching this and you don't hear me mention those as options, that's why. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I know somebody in the comments are going to say, what about careers, or what about so and so, right? So every other company is fair game. I'm looking at the yield. I'm looking at the potential for the existing yield to increase. I'm looking at the potential for the price to go down so that the yield will increase. I'm also looking at whether or not the yield may go down, right? So those are the things I'm looking at. And that's so dividend investing has become a bigger part of my portfolio in the later years. Before the pandemic, it was mainly about capital gains, right? That's what I pursued most. Since about 2021, 2022, it's been all about dividends, and I've been able to get cap gains and dividends from the dividend stocks in my portfolio. And so these stocks that I'm going to mention here tonight, some of them are on my watch list. Some of them I may be a shareholder, and others, we'll see. All right. So tell me in the chat, what's your favorite dividend stock, and I'll may have a look at it throughout the course of the video. All right. So I'm going to recap the ones that I selected at the start of the year. And then we're going to talk about the changes to that, right? So I did this in the last video. I wasn't going to do it, but maybe it will make sense to do it here. So the usual disclaimer is there. And so a dividend, for those who are unaware, is a portion of the company's profit paid out to its shareholder. Its shareholders' dividends aren't guaranteed, right? So it is a possibility that you don't get it. And so you have to bear that in mind. So dividends allows you to get income without having to sell your shares, which is why they're so awesome to me. And to calculate the yield, which is one of the most important things, you're looking at the annual dividends, and then you're looking at the price per share. Price is very important as it relates to yield, and that's because it has to be within the context of price. Now, usually for my dividend stocks, I'm trying to do a projection in advance. So I typically make a purchase for a dividend stock before I think it has a potential to be a good dividend stock. And let me tell you what I mean by that. If I see where I usually try to position myself to maximize my dividend income, right? I'll talk about that another time, right? So at the start of the year, I had Dolphin Cove as my #1 dividend stock to watch. Now, Dolphin Cove has been interesting, right? Most of you probably know the story. Let me go talk about my conference in a second there. So I'm going to look at Dolphin Cove. So Dolphin Cove it's kind of still on the watch list only because of price now, right? So at the start of the year, the price was about $19. the price has gone down, which means the potential for the yield that I had projected will actually go up. However, they have not actually paid a dividend since June of last year. So they're at the 9-month mark and no dividend. So as a dividend stock, that is concerning for me, but the lowering of the price makes it interesting for me. So whereas if they weren't paying a dividend and the price was still up, I would be that'd be a no-go for me. But since the price is going down, and I'm thinking that at some point we're going to get some clarity, it's still on the list because of that, right? So that's why it's still there now. The price is kind of in waiting, I think, till the announcement of their reports. I don't think we've seen Q4 numbers, right? They did third quarter, and which would have shown the impact of Barita, I believe. We haven't seen the audited financials. What I thought they should have done is, since the audited financials are so delayed, they should have at least released unaudited Q4 so that we can see what those numbers are like. But of course, we haven't gotten that. So I'm waiting to see now if the report, if they are good for the year, the price may hold or go slightly higher. But if they're not doing good for the year, and depending on what the commentary says, price may go down. Now, if the price goes down and there's a potential that there may be a dividend paid maybe within the next 12 months, that would still make it an interesting dividend stock for me, because if the price goes down, as I said, the yield goes up. And so this is very intriguing for me. So I can't pass that up, right? So that's dividend stock number 1. This is what I had shared the last time. At the time, the price was about between 17 and 18. We said that the price is 16.50 now. The 52-week range is certainly different. It has gone down to maybe $12. Market cap remains the same. Shares outstanding remains the same. Now, I also think that Dolphin Cove is actually a good candidate for a stock split. That's an entirely different conversation. But of course, if the stock splits, I'm not a fan of that as it relates to dividends. A stock split would be more, increasing liquidity, etc. But I don't see that happening in the short term either. But there's something that I'll mention based on the number of shares outstanding. And when they did pay a dividend, they paid $1.20, which is why, again, if the price goes down, the yield would go up. So the yield would have been based on the price of $18.38. So if they were to, for example, pay that, if they were to pay $1.20 at the 16.50 price, the price would go up to the yield would go up to 7.27%. It would be higher than the 6.38 that's here. So that's why I say it's intriguing for me, because the yield would actually be going up. And so, of course, certainly that is why they're still on the list. The next one was Barita. Barita was trading at $74 at the time. Let's see where they're trading right now. What am I doing here? I'm looking for my screen. Is it not loading? Okay, sorry. So I'm just trying to get, there we go. My screen was misbehaving there. So let me load Barita's price history. So the price has actually not moved much. So it's 73.46 here. It was 74. It literally looks like when you'd be doing art class and you draw the ocean. It like literally looks like a very this is, the price has not moved since the start of the year. All right, we see 50 million units there traded March 28th, and that's about it. right? So have they announced a dividend since? No, they have not. So they have not announced a dividend. So the yield and everything will remain the same if they do. Now, last year they announced 2 dividends, one around January. They did not do that this year, right? So, and I don't think I've said, no, they have the bond out now, which for me, I was there, you know, thinking about if they'll be repaying bondholders, whether or not they'd actually be able to maintain the same dividends that they have here. So that was a little bit concerning for me to see, because of course, naturally, if they have the bond out, those bondholders will need to get their payments. But I did think about, for example, if it is that, so I'm not a fan of bonds in general, but I do believe they have their use cases depending on how much capital you have and your tolerance for risk. Now the interest rates for these, for the bond is from 7 to 10.9%. Now the reason why I don't, a person may ask, well, Jermaine, why don't you do a bond or a preference share instead of a dividend stock? With a bond or preference share, I don't have the upside. I don't have the potential upside. The bond price is fixed. And so even though this 10.9% is appealing in terms of a yield, I don't want a fixed amount, and I'd have to leave it there for 10 years to get that 10.9%. That's not necessarily attractive to me. Now, 2 years is a shorter term, 2 years for 7%, because the truth is I would be able to get more than that from the market in terms of capital gains. So that's what I'm weighing. Now, if you are an investor who wants like guaranteed returns, then that may work for you. But I saw that, thought about it briefly, and that was it, right? So that was it at the time. Price has pretty much stayed the same. Market cap, other things here to look at. And the 2 dividends that they paid last year came up to $3.60. But as I said, they have not announced one yet this year. And so, of course, I think in this case, based on the fact that I'm not sure if they'll be able to pay the same amount of dividends, especially with the bond, for them, they've been removed from my dividend watch list. So that's it for Barita. Let me get to the next one here. And I think everybody knows the third already, but I'll pause here and see what you guys are saying. So most of you are saying that, well, Diplomat is saying Indies is their stock. Trans Jamaica for Ricardo is his favorite for the last 2 years. Alienate started January 2025 after watching myself and Demetrius got first dividend payment today, and it was a good feeling. All right, that's nice. The White is saying Trans Jamaica. Diplomat is saying Trans Jamaica hands down. And here's the thing, right? Trans Jamaica was the third stock, and at the time the price was $4.11. The price has gone down, and so naturally it would stay on the list because, of course, they have paid a dividend. They've actually increased their dividend. So absolutely, this one is not going to go in terms of an option. And so, because at the time, so let me go to the screen where it shows the dividends that they paid. So last year they paid 18 cents, and it was a 4.6% yield. They've paid 12.58 so far, and I believe the price at the end of trading today, well, let me check that. I don't remember what that was. So the price at the end of today was $3.94, right? So I'm assuming that they're gonna pay another 12 12.58. Now that may be a dangerous assumption, but that is my assumption. So I'm actually going to expect them to double this. So at this 25.16, and actually my average price for Trans Jamaica now, especially with the offer for sale, is about 2.95, right? So my personal yield would put it at about 8.5%, but the yield that was here last year was at the start of the year was 4.61%. So at the lower price, let's say your average price is 360 from the offer, that would change the yield for you, right? So you'd have to calculate it based on the yield. If they pay that at even a 360 price, that yield is almost 7%. I think that's a very good dividend yield. So it's not gonna come off the list anytime soon, right? Let's say it that way. And I do think so. Most persons think, for example, it might have been a one-off dividend. I see no reason why they can't pay that other 12.58 because they would have signaled their intent to increase the dividend yield around 2025, right? So I just wasn't sure if it was after this year or during this year, but based on them making record profits last year, it makes sense. All right. So that's Trans Jamaica in terms of the two that are still there for me. Barita is gone. Dwight is saying Barita, but the bond for me and the fact that now most of that capital, because remember they announced a dividend in January last year. They have not announced that this year. They're focused on the bond. I don't know if they'll actually pay the same dividend yield that they paid last year. So that's what I'm thinking about here. So that's why they're not an option for me. Now there are some companies that have made the watch list, right? So this was a recap of those stocks that were there at the start of the year. And so there's actually 2 stocks that I mentioned here. Well, actually 3, right? And it's interesting because I will wait to see, right? So I'm going to go through it quickly, but I'm actually going to pause here and talk about my conference here because this is going to be a short video, right? So a week from now, right? That's where we are away from the conference. It's a week away. And you have, so we announced our pitch winners today, I believe, on social media. And so that's it's all set for day one. The stage is set. So we have 1 session on the Friday, pitch competition, and then a business mingle, which I'd love to see all of you there. And then on day 2, we have just a great lineup. I believe the agenda will be shared tomorrow if it wasn't shared today. But we start at 5 p.m. Registration opens at 5 p.m. on the Friday. And we're going to talk about the challenges of entrepreneurship, right? Because it's an interesting journey being an entrepreneur. And actually, we're doing a live stream this Saturday to talk about this very same thing. Just so we're launching, let me actually come full screen here. So we're actually launching a community, a brand new community this Saturday. All right, so look out for that announcement tomorrow, but we're going to be launching a brand new entrepreneurship community. We have an investment community. It's strong, it's active, but Renee and I are entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years. And so you may wonder why the conference has a focus on entrepreneurship. There are investing components which are actually very helpful for you if you're primarily an investor. But if you remember, I did a video last year where I said the key to wealth is entrepreneurship and investing. So even if you don't plan to start a business, you need to understand businesses better to become a better investor, right? So my skill of being able to understand companies and teach people about companies is because I've run my own company for 24 years. And so we're launching a brand new entrepreneurship community, doing mentorship, coaching, same teaching that we do a part of the LGI side. We'll have special guests, some persons you may know, some persons you don't know, coming in, doing teaching, sharing their knowledge, helping persons to grow their businesses. So it's going to be, I think, an interesting thing to do, to launch, because I can't think of another entrepreneurship community, right? I've looked at, I've joined PSOG, I've joined other business associations, and what I think is missing in the space is a business community, right? Something that is almost like a support system for entrepreneurs, just like we have a support system for investors, which is the Learn, Grow, Invest community, but you also have other spaces, right? So you have Stocks on the Rocks with their space. You have L.E.A.R.N, the Jamaican investor, with his space. You have Kalila with Money Mission. So there are enough investment spaces, I believe, for persons to find what they would want. But certainly for us, we want to kind of bridge the gap for businesses as well, right? And so you also have a lot of investment focus conferences. We wanted one that would focus on entrepreneurship, and then we pair the investing with it, right? So that's kind of why we did our conference in the way that we did. So the pitch competition comes after the first session. We have 5 amazing pitches. We can't wait for you to see who they are. Then we have the mingle. So the mingle is going to be important, right? That's where you do your networking, you share your business card, you look for a company to say, well, I have an opportunity. I have some capital. Are you interested in capital? How would you invest? And things like that. Then we have some great sessions for day 2. Leadership by Mariam McIntosh Robinson, coaching and mentorship, which is going to be a big thing for us in terms of this new community. Content creation for entrepreneurs. So if you've always wanted to be a content creator, this is going to be a great session for you. If you have a business and you're not sure how to create content, if you just want to, in general, learn more about that space, I'm going to be talking about using your business as a vehicle for investing, right? And I've shared this already before, that one of the things we're looking to do very soon for LGI is actually raise capital. So that's something that we're going to be doing very soon, probably later this year. Try to essentially grow our business, right? So we have some partnerships we're working on as well. And so I'm going to be sharing some of the strategies that I've learned myself and that we're going to be sharing with you, so you can use your own businesses for this opportunity as well. Jared is going to be talking about effective sales strategies. Now, this is actually helpful even if you're not in sales. The ability to sell, negotiate, persuade is very important. And so he's going to be sharing his strategies for that. And then, of course, the power of recurring revenue. All businesses need this, right? So Kevin McIntosh is going to share that. David Mullings from Blue Moho Capital, our title sponsor, is going to be talking about investing for the long term, right? So he's going to be sharing his framework. So he shared it a little bit on our platform before. He's going to be giving you a greater look at that model, the principles that he uses, and so on. So we're going to have it as a conversation between us, and then we're going to have our keynote speakers, Julian and Kirsten Saunders, talking about how you can essentially take your business to the next level, right? Then, of course, we'll have some sessions for you virtually, and we'll have corporate structure. So persons that, for example, ask me, what's the best way to structure a business, how to do estate planning as an entrepreneur, things like that. So we're going to cover that. And I have a plan to add some goodies for those who are part of our online audience. All right. So that's our conference. Get your tickets. We still have tickets available, and it's literally a week away. So if you're watching this any point in the future, we're probably going to have less than a week to go. So let me get to the rest of this video now. The first one may surprise you. But one that I'm looking at here first is NCB. Now, I saw this price go down to here, right, $42, and I was like, that was interesting, because last year they paid $2 dividend, right? So $2 divided by 42 at the time would have been a 4.7% dividend yield. And of course, when you saw the Trans Jamaica calculation, it had a 4.6. So this 4.7 would actually be in line with what Trans Jamaica would have been paying in terms of a yield at the price of 4.11. So I could not ignore the price that I saw for NCB. Now, a warning sign here, they have not paid their first quarter dividend. And I do know they have a bond out now as well. So I am waiting to see if they will announce maybe their next dividend being $1 in sometime in May, June. I will wait to see, but I know their shareholders are expecting a dividend. And so if this price goes below $40 though, I don't see how I could resist maybe taking a position. Now, I sold my NCB shares back in 2021 at $150. Right, so I'm not currently an NCB shareholder, but I was. And so that means at one point in the past, I was bullish on the future of the company. I think that they've been making some progress, right? And so I think that it would present an interesting opportunity there in terms of yield. And so it's on the watch list for sure. And so that's the first one, right? Yeah, so I mean, that's I say Alienate said somebody bought 12 million shares recently. I mean, maybe they know something you don't, or maybe they're, seeing an opportunity, because I know NCB has been on everybody's watch list for a while, right? So they've just entered mine, and so that's the first one, right? Now the second one that I will mention, which is interesting, is, who is it? I didn't make slides for these. The next one, Michael Leachin says no dilution. Well, there you go. Well, but who's the next one here? Okay, so I have to give kudos to, I think, Marva from our community. So Marva, if you're here, shout out to you. Marva raised Sygnus as a viable option for me in terms of dividend. Now I'm going to calculate the yield, right? Because I've been watching the association with Sygnus in terms of the loan that they gave to Tropical, and then of course if Tropical is going to be raising the capital to repay them, or wait, did they refinance already? I think they might have refinanced already, right? But let me calculate the yield here to see if it makes sense. So $12.28. Dividend they paid last year was US 0.0028 cents. So I usually calculate US at 155, and then we divide that by 12.28. That yield puts us at 3.5. So Marva, is it Marva? Marva, that yield is nah. So this one can't make it, unfortunately, for me, because my minimum is 5%. Now, if they paid 2 times this, that'd be great, but just one, that's a no for me, right? So there's that one. The next one that was interesting for me was actually, let me find it here. The next one that was interesting for me was actually Atlantic, right? Now, Atlantic, I'm going to see if I can find the information that I used to do the calculation, because we did it inside the challenge community when the prospectus came out. So I'm trying to find my notes on it here. But if they were able to clear up their debt and then now have that go to the bottom line, they would be able to, because I think their dividend policy is, I'm trying to find it here. And I don't want you to see my scrolling. That's why you're not seeing what I'm looking at. Dividend policy. But here's the thing, all of this would be contingent on, so the reason why they are a watch right now and not a buy for me, section 10, page 36, is because I like to give companies time. So I believe companies sometimes can paint a picture for you that don't always it's not always realistic, is what I would say, in terms of how it is being positioned. So I'm giving them time, actually, right? So though they're on the watch list, I want to see at least a couple of reports. I want to see how cash position is trending, how profits are trending, and then I'll be able to, okay, here we go, right? So it says here their dividend policy is 40% the company's net profit, right? That's what we're seeing here. This is their dividend policy in the prospectus. So what I am going to do as well, I believe when we did the calculation for them, is just have to find their profit and loss. No. All right, so this is 9 months 2024. So for example, the finance cost, I believe they said would go down maybe 80-90 million, if I'm not mistaken. So if they do, I want to find your audited numbers, but let's say they do, no, let me find. So this I should have probably prepared a little better for, but I believe when I did the calculation, it was close to maybe 5% or a little above. So because of that, it was intriguing for me. So if they're paying out 40%, and I think with the number of shares outstanding, I did the calculation and came out either 4.5% or 5%, something like that. So I need to do it again, of course, but I don't want to take the time doing that one here now. But Atlantic is one of them. And now the final one would be, I think someone else called this one as well. Final one, of course, would be Indus Pharma. Now, Indus Pharma seems to me like they're going to have a pretty good year. They have announced one dividend already. That is here, right? So dividend has actually increased from last year. Same with Jamaica. So the dividend increasing here, and they're paying it at the start of the year, right? And it looks intriguing for me because of all the other things happening with the company now. I think it's very possible for them to pay another dividend this year. Now, if they pay another dividend, let's say they pay a total of 20 cents for the year, or I believe I did maybe 22 cents divided by $3.62, that'd be a yield of 6%, right? So 6% is an interesting dividend for me. Of course, I would get to the 5% minimum that I would have. Now, for me, again, I'm not a shareholder of the company. I'm waiting to see, because again, I believe the last time I had in the shares was probably 2021. So I was a shareholder. Chiki and I used to talk about the company, you know, back in the day, I used to actually buy shares for dividends. I don't, but you know, back then I wasn't thinking about yield or anything like that. I just got some cash and I was happy with it. So those are the ones that are currently on the watch list. Now I am a shareholder of Trans Jamaica. I think everybody knows that. So I'm enjoying the higher dividends. I'm getting an 8% dividend yield on Trans Jamaica right now. I also mentioned that I'm getting, I don't remember the amount that I said, but I am getting my largest dividend ever from Trans Jamaica by the end of this month. And so I'll talk about this in another video, but what we pretty much did is I sold my entire US portfolio because of what was happening in the US, and I shifted it locally, put all of what was in the US to Trans Jamaica, at least in the short term. So of course I have none of the volatility of the US and the potential upside of Trans Jamaica plus the increased dividend, because the stocks I had in the US portfolio, the yield was not attractive. So of course we're able to, I think the dividend that I'm going to be getting just from the first payment in April is going to be more dividends than I got for all of last year from all of the companies I have, right? So that's a big move for us and our portfolio. And what I'll be doing is rebuilding the US portfolio over time, right? So I'm waiting until some of the volatility goes, and then I'm just going to slowly add to some of the positions that I like. And it's mostly tech companies. I do like some pharmaceutical companies, some retail companies, because those are the industries I understand, right? There are some ETFs I'm looking at as well. And so the plan is also to sell my crypto portfolio that I've been holding since 2017, right? I bought Ethereum, ADA, Ripple very early. And so those are up like maybe 400, 500% now. So I can sell those and maybe rebalance into some US stocks. So I think my crypto portfolio is maybe about 10,000 or maybe 15,000 US. I'm not sure of the amount right now. And so I can just sell those shares, start building my US portfolio. And so I think in terms of cash flow, we're going to be very good this year in terms of income, and we can rebuild because the US is going through a very interesting time now. So I think it's a great time to rebuild. I'm happy that I held as long as I did, because I first started buying stocks in the US market since 2016. So some of the stocks that I was holding is a long time, right? So got some great gains there. The US side of my portfolio was actually more than my Jamaican portfolio. So it's been a good move, I think, right? So let me see if you have any questions. I thought about Scotia briefly, very, very briefly, and that was it. Let me see what else everybody is saying. Yes, sir, you did call it. Sygnus pays twice a year, and since the IPO April, October, November, the information on JC is not. Oh, okay. All right, cool. So if you can send me that in the community, I don't know if you're there, but oh, I completely forgot about sharing this. So we do have a flash sale in the community. Now it's going to be finished in 20 minutes. So I don't know if it makes sense, but we had a flash sale that ends in 20 minutes. So for the 78 persons here, you do have a chance to get 20% off our investment challenge for the next 3 months, right? And so the sale ends in 18 minutes. So there's still time to buy. And we have our mid-month challenge session next weekend. Well, maybe week after, since the challenge is next, since the conference is next weekend, or maybe I'll just do a session on the Monday or the Tuesday following. But usually for a mid-month, we do a stock review or we have a special guest. I've been trying to get an interview with a CEO that we can have inside the challenge community, just someone who can, you know, share some perspectives on the market, etc. So persons can look out for that. But 18 minutes, if you've always wanted to join a challenge, it's a great time to do so. And I love the activity that's been going on inside the community. So persons have been talking, sharing articles, commenting, posting different things. I really, you know, like to see things progressing. That's what I was hoping for. And so a lot of, you know, interesting things being talked about there. If you join the challenge, though, you're going to get access to our private community. That's right here. I'm not going to share that on screen, but what I will do is there are certain stocks that we'll be tracking. So I'll share those here. And of course, we have the monthly calls. We have our own challenges that we go through. We have our own meetups. And so if you want to benefit from that, and then of course, you're seeing a preview here. We're going to build it out. We didn't want to show it on screen, but the entrepreneurship community that we're launching is going to be here as well. And that will be launched officially this Saturday. All right. So, so before, listen, I saw the writing on the wall and I sold. And when I checked, it was a very good profit, maybe 15,000-20,000 US profit. So I was like, hey, I'm good with that. So I shifted locally for now. I did see some person saying that they're share. I didn't buy, so I couldn't tell you if it's there or not. But certainly they're there on a watch list, right? So let me. Hold on, I just remembered something that I want to check. Okay, I just wanted to check something. All right. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave it here, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd asked before what dividend stocks you have. I heard about Stanley Motor, but I also have to look at liquidity, Sean. So for me, when I buy dividend stocks, I'm buying minimum 100,000 units, some cases 250,000 units. And in the case of Jamaica, of course, I have millions of units. So I think Stanley Motors liquidity for me was a concern at the time that I had checked. I don't know if that has changed, but I can't buy a stock that is not liquid enough for me to exit. So let me look at Stanley Motor though. They announced a dividend this year. Last year they paid 7 cents, 0.07, and the stock price is $6.77. That yield is 1%, Sean. Am I missing something here? Let me share my screen. So this is Stanley Motor. Now, if I can't trust the information on JSC site, let me know. But it shows one payment here, and the price is $6.77. So that yield is 1%. That's a no-go for me. Dividend consideration 2024. Okay, so they did pay another dividend here. Oh, so JSC did not include it. Okay. So let me add this one to it. They paid. Oh, so this one was the one that came in for this year. Okay. So I should add these two. Okay, let me add these two and see. 0.1320 plus 0.079. Divided by 677. That's 3% though. That's not, that has not met the minimum. And let me see the volume trading. No, I can't. So you see, if I'm to buy 100,000 units of this, it would take me weeks to exit. So it's a no for me based on volume. There's not enough there's only 757 million shares, and I'm going to imagine that there's a certain group that has probably majority of those shares anyway. So that's a no for me. That's a no. So yes, they did. Yes, they did, Shells. They closed before. I have not looked at GUS in forever. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. All right. All right, everyone. So remember to take advantage of the challenge, the discount, 20% off for another 12 minutes. So you have a great opportunity. If you always wanted to join the challenge, join. And we have 2 meetings per month, one stock review or a special interview, and then we have our monthly calls. And that sale ends in the next 12 minutes. So if you're watching this on a replay, it would have ended already. Most companies on the JSE not liquid though. That is kind of true, but it depends on the amount of shares that I have. Now, if I ever get to a point, for example, with Jamaica, where I have 25 million shares or 30 million shares, and I don't think I'd be able to sell all the shares when I'm ready, then maybe I'll reconsider my strategy. But I have to be able to sell all my shares in a day. And if I can't do that, then I'm not interested usually in trading that company, because even though I'm investing for dividends, I use a dividend investing method called the dividend capture method, where I do take advantage of the cap gains when the dividends are announced. And so I need that liquidity. All right, I'm going to ask you, no, I don't normally ask this, but I'm going to ask you all to take a minute to like the video. Take a minute to like the video. It helps our channel, and share our platform with a friend, right? Invite more persons to invest. And if you're an entrepreneur, please join us for the live stream this Saturday. We're going to be launching our entrepreneurship community. We're going to have some specials on that community, of course, so you can sign up for the year and things like that. What's my exit price? I can't share that publicly, sir. Am I planning on selling to a pension fund? What do you mean? What do you mean, Fortis? I don't understand the question. By the way, let me check on the Warriors game. Did the Warriors win? The Warriors were leading the Lakers last time I checked. I hope that they won, because of course they have not been leading the season series. So let me see before I, yes, Warriors won. Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm not planning to sell to a pension fund, but I am building up my pension. I can say it that way, right? All right, so I'm gonna have to watch the highlights of that game. And let me see. I'm sure the guys in my sports. Oh, okay. I got you. Well, so for me, I like liquidity. I like cash. I like access. And so, I mean, the few million shares I have now, I mean, it's fairly easy to sell those. But I would imagine, again, if I get to 10 million shares, 15 million shares, 20 million shares, then I may feel differently, because of course, if I have 30 million shares of Jamaica giving me what, 20 cents per year in dividend, I don't know if I'd have much to complain about because 30 million by the 20 cents would be 6 million in dividends. I mean, that's still not enough to have me not do anything. Maybe if I had 50 million shares, because if I'm getting dividend income per year exceeding 10 million, then I wouldn't have no need to sell the shares, because I don't think because already have a house, already have a car, already have multiple streams of income. So getting 10 million in dividend income per year, I think would be a good goal to set. But who knows, by the time I get to that point, maybe my realities will change. So I think I answered this question already. Barita will pay 2-in-1. They've said that, Dwight? Or you're guessing? If they've said that, tell me where, and I will consider it. Okay. Actively trade. It depends on what you're talking about. I look for opportunities to take capital gains from the stocks that I hold. I don't know if I'm not a passive investor. So I wouldn't consider this. I don't like passive anything. So I wouldn't say I'm passive, but I am strategic and I have patience, right? So I'd rather wait for, so whereas some traders, I may see them talk about, a 20% or 30%, sometimes I'd rather wait for 60, 70, 80% or 100%, again, because of the volume that I invest in, because there are multiple ways to do it. If you're starting with 100,000 and you're getting 20,000 per trade, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a job, I have a family, I have a community to run. I'm about to start another. I have my family to take care of and things that I want to do. So I'm certainly not trading to the same frequency that I did a few years ago. And so I'd rather wait instead of 20% to take 50, 60, 70, because that makes more sense for me. But I do set, well, yeah, absolutely. To me, the strategy is based on a goal or a target, right? What time on Saturday? I think I'm planning to start around 6 or 7 o'clock, and we'll probably go till around midnight. So we're gonna have some special guests on, some different entrepreneurs. I'll share my entrepreneurship journey and so on, right? Just suggesting that the company can, oh yeah, absolutely. But I have to make my decisions based on the information that I have. So if I don't know, if they haven't said it, then I have to respond accordingly, right? I can't say that the average is that, but it depends. So if something to me is what I like to call an obvious trade, then I make an obvious trade, right? So it depends. And I don't track percentage as much. I'm focusing on dollar amount, right? So usually when I do something, if I can get, for example, a certain amount of cash, then the percentage is not as relevant if that cash, for example, can replace my monthly salary, or it can, help me to do something very, very specific that I want to do, then I'll do that. But I don't worry about percentages that way, right? Know It All says NCB has been known since Tuesday, which wouldn't have been an issue as there are other platforms, but when my money is tied up and I can't access it, that's irritating, for sure. I'm happy that I don't have any such issue right now, because I got my full allocation for the Trans Jamaica offer, and I didn't apply for Atlantic, so I don't have any refund to get. And so I'm fortunately not dealing with that issue right now. Sorry for those who are, but that's kind of the risk that you take, right? So which is why, to my earlier point, liquidity is extremely important for me, right? So that issue of not being able to access my money, that's a liquidity issue. That would be a problem for me, right? So I'm not a fan of that at all. Well, I don't trade MSFT anymore. I'm not a MSFT shareholder anymore. I don't have any US stocks as of this point. But when I had MSFT, I would, did I trade it? No, I did. I just pretty much dollar cost averaged is what I did mainly. Still not seeing my Atlantic refund and the shares trading tomorrow. Sorry guys, there's not much I can say there, unfortunately. Let me see. Oh, I see a person saying that it should be listing tomorrow. Ticker is AHPC, and I didn't clear it because of Trump. I cleared it because of opportunity cost. I saw an opportunity that was appealing to me. I took advantage of the opportunity. And so it's not Trump specific. I very much believe in opportunity cost. And so if there is something that is in front of me, so even right now with my current investment plan, if a very attractive opportunity comes that seems like a prudent investment decision, I'm going to take it. I'm just going to liquidate my portfolio and I'm going to take it. So I'm opportunistic, right? So just at the time when we saw an investment property, sold our stocks, purchased that property, we're able to sell that property in 2 years for a profit. It's more about me making the best investment decision based on what is in front of me and what I know. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's because of Trump. The opportunity for the Trans-Jamaica offer was very appealing. And with the volatility that was happening in the US markets, it just made sense. Because at least when I looked at what I was able to get from the portfolio in the last 18 months, if I simply just shifted that here, then I could do more with the prospects of what's to come for this market for this year. Because it's not just Trans-Jamaica. There are other offers that are slated to come that will present opportunities for me that was more appealing than what was being shown for the US market, right? So no, multiple persons I'm seeing reporting an issue, unfortunately. I'm so sorry for everybody. My only issue, and let me say this, I have 2 minutes left to end the stream. My only issue is I purchased USD shares for Trans-Jamaica and I only have JMD shares. That's my only issue. But I have queried it and I'm waiting for an update. Not worried about it until I get my dividend, of course. And so I'm waiting, but I'm still up on the USD shares as I look at it right now. But that was my only issue. I've escalated it. Fortis, I can't answer that. I think I know who this is. if this is this Mr. Graham? Because that's one person I know. If this is you, Mr. Graham, then I can't say that. It's not if it's not public information, I can't say. I have an idea, is what I will say. I have an idea. Right. I want everybody to enjoy the rest of their night. See you. Thanks for joining me for this video. Oh, it's not Mr. Graham. Okay, so it's not the Fortis that I know then. Cool, no problem. But I can't say. I have an idea. I'm not allowed to say. That would certainly be a breach of that'd be a breach of trust. And so that's a no-no for me. All right. Enjoy the rest of the night, everyone. If you are new here, you don't understand how dividends work, check out this video on our channel called The Complete Guide to Dividend Investing. I'm going to share my screen quickly for you to see it. So you can watch this video if you want to understand how dividends work. Share my screen quickly here. So this is it, right? A complete guide to dividend investing. We did this a couple of years ago. One of our best performing videos, of course. Our investing for beginners is here as well. So check this out. I talk about how to invest for dividends, all of that good stuff here. If you want to learn how to use JTrader, we've done that video as well. And so you can just look out for more and more content like that. And then, of course, if you want to know how to do research, we have this how to pick great stocks video. And if you want to watch the earlier version of this, we did the top dividend stocks to watch for the entire 2025 here. But this, of course, is part 2. We're going to have part 3 in a few months. All right. All right. Okay. Fair enough, sir. I got that. No problem. And now here's stock without access. Yeah, I don't know, right? 22,000 applications, they said. So maybe it's just the volume. I don't know. To me, I think a system should work, right? That's why it's a system. So I don't know. I can't speak to it, unfortunately. I'm just happy I don't have the issue because I would be probably ranting and venting, and that's not usually good. All right, everyone, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please check out the next video that's going to be recommended. It's likely going to be related to dividends. So check that out if you're interested.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N. Grow Invest.